So I wanted to review what we covered in Thursday's class because I think it'll help several of you. I have these very dumb illustrations. I'm not sure why I chose these, except for that there are multiple of them and they're in a similar style. But I'm in Photoshop and everything's on one layer. And I would like to animate these characters, so I need to take them and put the parts that I want to animate on their own individual layers. Let's go ahead and focus on these adorable reindeer and penguins and gingerbread people. Rudolph character. I'm going to loosely, you can be more clean cut with it, but I'm just going to loosely highlight Rudolph's head, and I'm going to go Command C, Command X, and Command V and place it on its own layer. It's going to be really important that you name your layers, so I'm going to double click and I'll say Rudolph head. Okay, great. I'm going to move Rudolph's head over and I'm going to highlight on the bottom layer Rudolph's body. So I'm on layer 1. I'm going to copy and cut that, and I'm going to put that on its layer. Rudolph body. Another thing that I'd like to do is I would like to, so I'm going to animate this, so I should actually clean up what each thing looks like. Ooh, hi kitty. So I'm going to use my eyedropper and my brush tool, and I'm going to paint, oh, not that brush. I'm going to paint with this so that we have more of this and now off screen, I'm going to do that with the rest of these, separate the parts that I want to animate. Okay, cool. Straightened up here. I have the Rudolph head, the Rudolph body, the penguin head, the penguin body. And then I just wanted to point out for the gingerbread man, I actually put him in a folder, and I have a gingerbread man head and a gingerbread and a body. When I import them to After Effects, it's going to treat these differently, and I wanted you all to see that. And I would like to import that Photoshop file that I had. I've named it Cute PSD. One of the main things I need to watch out for is I don't want to import it as footage. I want to import it as a composition. And I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to import it, and it's going to create its own composition. Here's a second window. I'll hit OK. See, it made its own composition, and then there's a folder with the layers, but we're not going to mess with those. When I double click on the cute composition, a couple things. I see all my character. But look, where I made the folder for the gingerbread man, it's got this brown layer, and if I double click on it, it takes me to the gingerbread man's head and body. So what happened here is if you have a layer in Photoshop, After Effects will pre-compose it. Now the thing is, I like this. I don't want all of my layers. Like, it would be nice to have Rudolph on its own, in its own composition, both the head and the body, and then the penguin. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shift select both Rudolph's head and body, and then I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to choose pre-compose. And I'm going to name this Rudolph. And then that becomes a brown, light brown layer, and when I double click that, I see Rudolph's head and his body. Now to get back to my main composition, I go over here and I go to Cute. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the penguin head and the penguin body. I'm going to pre-compose and I'm going to say penguin. Cool. So now I can, for one nice thing is I can take just Rudolph and move Rudolph around, and it doesn't matter if his head or his body, like I don't have to select both of those and move them around because they're pre-composed in this layer. And then again, Gingerbread Man, he came in as a pre-composition because I had put him in a folder in Photoshop. Cool. Another thing is I'm going to go to composition settings, and I need to make sure that this composition's the proper size. 1920 by 1080 is how big we're making ours. And I'm going to say here, main timeline. Cool. Great. I think actually I'll go to composition settings and choose a nice background color. It's a little bright, but that's okay. And then okay. Great. And there's my characters. Now I can go into my Rudolph, for example, and I can take my Rudolph's head here, and I'm going to actually take the pan behind tool and position this at the base of Rudolph's head. We were doing it a different way before. We were moving the anchor point over here, but the pan behind tool is easier to use. And I had my own reasons for showing you this before and this after. Now I can twirl down the Rudolph head and transform, and I think what I'll do is I'm going to turn the rotation on, turn on that, and I'll rotate Rudolph's head this way a little bit, and then this way a little bit, and then this way a little bit, and then this way a little bit. Let's see how that looks. I'm going to hit my space bar. Great, he's rocking out. Cool, now I'd like to go back to my main timeline and do the same thing with my penguin. Also, if you need to rename a layer, what you can do is you can highlight the layer like this, and then hit return on your keyboard, and it allows you to rename. Okay, great. Now I've got my main timeline, and I've got my characters, and I can move them around. Whoops, sorry, that is not what I wanted to do. I went a little too vigorous there, so I'll take my reindeer. It is, look, the reindeer, the composition for the reindeer is so big that when I try to grab the penguin, it's still grabbing the reindeer. Let me go ahead and lock that reindeer body. Now I'll grab my penguin. There's lots of different ways that I could have handled this, but I'm just going to do that. And then the gingerbread man, I guess. And I'm going to go back to the penguin. Okay, great. Let's see what that looks like. I'm going to hit spacebar. It looks actually pretty disturbing. That's okay. One last thing is, since this is my main timeline, I'm going to import an image for the background. And I want to place this in this composition. It's a cute little house. And again, I would like this to sit right behind my characters. So I'm going to take this main image and drag it underneath those other ones, and there they are. Great. So again, compositions are unlike in Premiere, where it has a fixed time. So I would go to composition settings and I can decide how long I want the composition to be. You may have to lengthen yours, make it like, so this is hours, minutes, seconds, frames. You have to maybe you need to make yours 3 minutes or 2 minutes and 30 seconds. It's up to you. But what I want to do here is I want to take Rudolph and have Rudolph be the first character that appears. So here's Rudolph. Rudolph's bobbing his head. And then I want Rudolph to disappear here. What I can do on a PC, it is Alt bracket. On a Mac, it's Option bracket. And that chops my timeline. So I can still lengthen this if I want to, but he disappears after this. Boop. Great. Then I'm going to have the gingerbread man, no, the penguin appear. Boop, boop, boop. So just Rudolph. Now just the penguin. And now on the Mac, I'm going to hit Option bracket. And now, just to be clear, I'm not grabbing this and shortening it. You know, I'm not doing that like we do in Premiere because I have animation on those early frames. So I don't want to do that. What I want to do is not the double arrows, but I want to grab this main timeline and scooch it out. And then I can go out here and I can figure out where that ends. I'm on a Mac, so Option bracket. And then let's say that's enough. And this is the end of the composition. I can take this workspace area, shorten that, and go to composition, trim comp to work area. Or, and I think many of you might be just doing this, where you use this main composition and pull all of your other compositions in there. Some people are going to have like a couple compositions and it makes sense for them to bring them into Premiere, but you can also use After Effects as Premiere, you know, like in the same way of having a timeline, etc. It's just slightly more cumbersome. Okay.